Albany Academy is the Capital Region's premier independent college preparatory school. Established in 1813, Albany Academy has a history of success that is unmatched. The school hasn't just survived over the last 200 years, it has thrived. From preschool to 12th grade, Albany Academy provides your child with all of the necessary tools to not just succeed, but to excel in today's ever-changing world. So as you can see, when it comes to history and tradition, there is nothing like Albany Academy. The same can be said about the school's wrestling program. When it comes to the sport of wrestling, there is no off-season. However, on March the 2nd, 2013 at Albany Academy, it was an opportunity to take a well-deserved break, to look back and honor those wrestlers who added another chapter to the rich history of Albany Academy wrestling. This banquet also served as motivation for 3 young men who by the end of their senior seasons would make some history of their own. For Matt Morris, Sam DeLarge, and Cam Milliken, the 2013-2014 season would help them exercise demons and would also go a long way in establishing who they are on and off the mat. After a junior season that ended with an 0-2 showing in the state tournament, Matt Morris was a man on a mission in his final run at Albany Academy, running through the competition on his way to the state tournament, letting his actions speak much louder than his words.
Yeah, mentally, there's no tougher kid. I mean, like you said, he's a quiet kid, but he's, you know, his brain's always moving a mile a minute. If his brain spoke out loud, he'd be the most talkative kid in the room because he's always got a plan.
He's probably going to win like the poker championships, the Texas Hold'em championships. Like that kid plays his cards close to the chest. He is just, you know, he's just not an emotional guy. He's pretty closed when it comes to that. But I've never seen the kid be cross to anyone. I've never seen him exhibit any of the meanness you would think would come with being such a tough wrestler. But on the other hand, I've never seen like even an ounce of weakness.
Morris entered the 2014 state tournament 47-0. 2 of those wins were over the defending state champ. In the opening round, Matt would show why he was one of the favorites going in, winning his first ever state tournament match in dominating fashion, pinning his opponent 1 minute 25 seconds into the second period. He would follow that victory with another dominating performance, winning his quarterfinal match 6-0, setting up one of the most anticipated matches in the tournament. Morris would once again face his nemesis, defending state champion Lewis Weyerback from Hoosick Falls, their 3rd encounter of the season. And the match lived up to all the hype. Unfortunately, this time, it was Morris who fell just short, losing 4-3 in 2 overtimes. However, despite that, Morris had one of the greatest seasons in the program's history. He would finish his senior campaign with 49 wins, a 2-1 record against the defending state champ, and a trip to the podium, finishing 6th in the state.
You know, unfortunately at the state tournament, you know, that was the one time since I've been with Matt that his plan didn't come to fruition. So it was a tough thing, but you know, Matt's a warrior in and out.
For Sam and Cam, the 2014 state tournament was about validation. You see, the 2 missed out on the state tournament the previous year. Both were expected to be there. As a junior, Sam was the favorite in his weight class heading into the sectionals. But in wrestling, being the favorite means nothing once you're out on the mat. Sam would lose in the sectional final, making him a bystander for a tournament he was hoping to shine in. The loss would stay with Sam for a while,
You know, it was a battle all the way up from last year when he lost in the finals at sectionals. I mean, it was a long road to get him back to the mentality that he thought, you know, I can still do this. You know, it's demoralizing to a point where you get so close to something you've dreamed about forever, and then it just have it slip through your fingers. So to get over that hurdle mentally was a big deal, and it took quite a long time.
But once he conquered his fear of failure, Sam was tough to beat. And he carried that momentum into the sectionals. And this time, Sam claimed his rightful spot on the podium, winning his first ever sectional title, punching his ticket to the state tournament.
Oh, it was incredible. After all those years of hard work and after that junior year, that loss, it just all built up. And after, I just ran to my mom, I gave her a hug. It just all came out. All that stress of what happens was gone, and I was just ecstatic at that point.
It was a big deal for me. I mean, Sam's one of those kids that I've known him since he was a 5th grader. You know, and he was, you know, hanging on everybody, and he was just a normal 5th grade kid. To see him come through his progressions, and, you know, I've been working with him, you know, summer in, summer out for the past, you know, 5-6 years. And just to see it kind of all build up and be able to have that dream, because that was a big deal for him.
Now, Sam didn't accomplish his ultimate goal, but it didn't matter. What he did do was prove everyone wrong, even some of his coaches.
If you had a vote in elementary school if he was going to be the manager or a section champ, hands down he would have won manager. This was not a kid who walked around in the hallways, you know, bumping into people. This was a kid who just was like, I could do this. 9-year-old Sam was a little meek, kind of just, I'm just happy to be here, guys. 18-year-old Sam was a champion. And I really think what he overcame was that inner self of just being one of the guys to being one of the best guys.
From Sam to Cam, the two have more in common than just first names that rhyme. Both finished their previous seasons feeling unfulfilled. While Sam's hurdle was more mental, Cam's was overcoming a serious shoulder injury that threatened his wrestling career, one that was supposed to end with Cam as the most accomplished wrestler in Albany Academy history.
Well, I had to do a lot of rehabbing for my shoulder, so I had to put in even more hours than I normally would. I'd have to go to physical therapy, strengthen my shoulder, and then aside from that, I'd have to come to practices. And even though I couldn't wrestle for a while, I would still come and try to get a feel for it.
Yeah, well, he was always, even coming up through like the prodigal son, he was the one that was going to take Academy to the next level on the mat. You know, and those surgeries were tough. I mean, the injury was tough initially, to have the surgery and then have it re-injured, as, you know, surgery to re-injure to surgery. I mean, that's a lot to go through.
One surgery would be enough to put doubt into anyone's mind. But when you have 3 surgeries on the same shoulder, the odds of contending for a sectional title, let alone a state title, are almost impossible.
When you have a shoulder dislocation, essentially your shoulder's like a ball and socket. And when you have a traumatic event, that ball protrudes through the socket, usually tearing soft tissue along the way. And for somebody to come back to a combative, aggressive sport like wrestling, the percentages are very low even after 1, because you have opponents who are essentially trying to put your arm in a compromised position all the time. To come back from 3 failed surgeries over a couple-year time is, I mean, the percentages are very minute.
Despite missing a big part of his final 2 years at Albany Academy, Cam showed a champion's heart by winning the sectional title, landing him a spot in the state tournament, something he was born to do.
It was a really cool feeling because I knew that even though I had to battle a lot of adversity, I was able to fight through it and make it to complete my ultimate goal.
Miraculous, whatever term you want to give to it. We always follow along our athletes in the newspapers, on the news, that type of thing. And when I saw he was back wrestling, I said, you know what, good for him. Because I thought, honestly, that his high school wrestling career would be over and maybe his career as a whole. So I thought, good for him, he's wrestling. Hopefully he can be competitive and get back out there. But either way, it's a victory at this point. And then when I saw he won the section, you know, like you had said, a miracle, yes, against all odds, yes. But getting to know the kid, you know, there was a little part of me that wasn't surprised, and nothing that he did would have surprised me.
His debut match was one of sheer dominance. He won by pin, and it took him only 21 seconds to do it. The opening round victory would set up a quarterfinal match against the top seed, Frank Garcia from Norwich out of Section 4. And as hard as Cam battled, he would lose 7-3 to the eventual state champ. And this is where the true test of mental toughness begins. With no chance at a state title, many would have a hard time finishing out, but not Cam. His focus would now shift to a third-place finish. In his first wrestle back, Cam would dominate, winning by major decision 10-2. He would follow that win with another impressive performance, a 5-1 victory over Tanner Phillips from Peru out of Section 7. Cam would steamroll his way to the third-place match. Setting up a classic battle against Ryan Cromer out of Section 6. Cam would lose a heartbreaker 2-1, but would finish 4th in the state.
You know, you're not going to believe me because I'm the coach, but I think I had an interview last year and I was like, no, Cam's going to win the section. Cam's going to be a state champ. And he was damn close to doing it. And if we had one more month, if the states were in late March, Cam's a state champ.
It was great. I really wanted to come into the state tournament and win it, but 4th in the state isn't that bad. I was happy with it.
For Matt, Sam, and Cam, their senior seasons will be one for the record books at Academy. In the end, their legacies are secure, and their success measured by what wrestling at Albany Academy meant to them and what they meant to Albany Academy Wrestling.
I'd say overall it was a very successful career. I finished with over 130 wins. I was one of the few wrestlers in Academy history to win the section and place at state. And I'm going to miss it a lot. Hopefully I can carry on into college and continue wrestling. It's become a big part of my life, and I don't think I really want to let go yet.
It was a family. I mean, I've been here since kindergarten, so going through this, meeting everyone, it just was a big part of my life, and it showed me so much. It introduced me to so many cool people, gave me a lot of my drive and a lot of my life, and it was really just the most fun I could have ever had. If I didn't wrestle, I don't know what I would have done with all my time, really.
I send my son here because I want my son to be around people like Matt and Sam and Cam. And I want my son to someday have, you know, a fat head on the wall. But if not, I want him to know that on and off the mat, that you conduct yourself in a certain way. And if there's anything that they'll bring to the wrestling program, it'll be that I know a year from now, if there's a story done on those kids, it'll be about nothing but how successful and how they have great character. There won't be any tragedies. There are not going to be any scandals. That off the mat, they're going to make the program proud. On the mat, it's kind of irrelevant how it turns out. You know, it's just 3 more examples of how like great men are being built in this room.